On to the girls. Favourite Bond girls. John, is she still there?
Do
Is
you
she
know what?
still up there?
Do you know what? Can I give my three in reverse order? I have laboured over this and laboured over this and laboured over this, and I want to mention Lea Seydoux and Jane Seymour, but I think having thought about it and then rewatched some of the scenes, here are my reverse order three, and I think there's been a slight reassessment since all our Bondathons as well. When you look at them all together, you can reassess it, and I think it's going to be number three is going to be actually Electra King, which is Sophie Marceau from The World Is Not
Yeah,
Enough.
good shout.
And number two is Teresa de Vincenzo, or as she got married to James Bond, Tracy Bond, Diane Rigg. And my number one is Paloma. I don't know. She's got
I
well,
wasn't
literally
expecting that.
about 8 or 9 minutes screen time or something ridiculous. But I mean, you can see how much of an impact she made on both Daniel Craig, who's worked with her in Knives Out, but also on other filmmakers because she's going to be in this new John Wick spin-off as well as essentially the same character, but even more badass. So yeah. I do feel bad about Vesper Lind. I think she's such an integral character to the franchise. So I think she'd be in my top five with Jane Seymour. I think Vesper Lind, with maybe a little touch of Severin as well from Skyfall, because I thought she was really interesting. But yeah, those are my top three.
Okay.
Massive. I mean,
Alex.
so before we head over to Alex, I did do a bit of research on how many Bond girls we've seen, and I think it's over 40, and it was big hats off for Honey Rider for Ursula Andress, who was essentially she was the kind of the template for all Bond girls, wasn't she? Coming out of the water to the point where
Yeah.
Jinx, played by Halle Berry, copied that whole out of the water scene in the film that she was in. I can't remember what it was now. There have been, I think, 60. No, even more than that, more than 60, maybe 75 Bond girls, if you include some of the incidental girls that we see Connery boffing at the beginning of his films. My job's got easier over the Bondathon. I've had less to count, but 65 Bond girls is pretty impressive. So, Alex, tough choice.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
An extra question for you though, John, which is best bonk.
Probably Sophie Marceau's one, I think.
Okay, very
Because
specific.
With the ice cubes.
well, I just think the most was revealed, and it was the most audacious scene of all the films, and we discussed that at the time, that
Yeah.
it was quite a non-PG scene for the franchise,
Yes.
and so therefore probably the most titillating, really.
Well, it's only fair that you answer that.
Yeah.
So that's,
Thank
yeah,
you.
that's
I've
really
put some thought to it.
Okay, I've got a few, but I think if we're doing it in reverse order, then I think Honey Rider, Ursula Andress, and Dr. No. But the reason for that is because she was the template for a Bond girl pretty much ever since, and you get that wonderful one-liner. Are you looking for birds? No, I'm just looking, which I loved. But yeah, so I think she is on my top three. I have an interesting one, which is Domino, played by Kim Basinger from Never Say Never Again. It's just, yeah, she comes across as with that mix of like sophistication and
Vulnerability.
I don't know, vulnerability. Yes, that's exactly the word. And she just does it perfectly. Yeah, so that comes across really well. My number one is Eva Green as Vesper Lind, actually, because she was very sophisticated. There was real intelligence behind that. And yeah, I think it's one of the first sort of Bond girls that kind of made you kind of think because of her portrayal later on. So I think, yeah, I think it's really interesting.
That scene
And
where
so-
she's crying in the shower is a very strong scene that she played.
Yeah, so that's very good. I do have a couple of honourable mentions, though. I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. Denise Richards as Christmas Jones in The World Is Not Enough. Look, I understand your concerns about this, Bobby and John, but I'm sorry, it's just she will always be in Starship Troopers in my head, so that's fair enough. And then another one, which was quite interesting, was Camille from Quantum of Solace, played by Olga Kurylenko.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, she just comes across as a very modern, somewhat empowered, but obviously she's not entirely. But I just think it's just a very sophisticated modern Bond girl. So yeah.
So, in
Go on
reverse order, my top three. So I kind of gone on the basis of the Bond girls that set my heart aflutter, and I didn't really want anything bad to happen to them.
Prepare yourself.
At number three, we have Vesper Lind, played by Eva Green, who is one of the best Bond girls ever. I mean, she's one of the strongest written and also one of the strongest acted as well. The nuances that Eva Green put into her performance, those little moments were just sublime, and she did such an amazing job, and she is such a compelling character as well. And I love the way that she didn't take any shit from Daniel Craig's Bond, really. The repertoire between them on the train and when they get to the hotel the first time and he pretty much dispenses with their cover identities and so on. She was just brilliant the way that she handled him and dealt with him. Number 2 has to be, God rest her soul, Diana Rigg on Her Majesty's Secret Service. She just, I mean, what can you say? It's stunning, absolutely stunning.
She kept that kind of, again, that strong female character aspect to her acting all the way through to one of her final roles in Game of Thrones, which I think is brilliant. She's just that sort of a assistant, sort of strong actress. It's brilliant.
Yeah. And at number 1, it could only ever have been this lady, Ana de Armas as Paloma in No Time to Die. I mean, come on, like the whole freaking package. The whole package. And when she was no more, when she skipped out of the game, when she skipped out of the movie, a bit like, your favourite sort of first-person shooter where you get a cutscene and there's a character that comes in to help you out for a bit and then buggers off and you never see them again. You were kind of like, no, stay in Cuba, don't leave.
Bobby, it feels like you and I have got together and planned this ahead of Alex, because we've both chosen the same number 1s here. We haven't had any discussion together about this, which is interesting.
At all. Not at all. For the 8 minutes that she was on screen, I mean, she basically acted everybody else off it. Again, it's the little nuances in her performance as well, and the playfulness, and she just fizzed and popped, and she was amazing, absolutely brilliant. Honourable mentions go to Olga Kurylenko for sure, for Camille. That was quite a hard one actually between her and Eva Green as Vesper Lynd for my top 3, because as you know, if you think back to our Quantum of Solace episode, I really, really loved her in that role. She fought for that role, and it was really her breakthrough. And after that, she just became one of the hardest working actresses in Hollywood. But it was a very strong written character with the motivations that had been written for her were very, very believable, and obviously absolutely gorgeous as well. She just ticked all the boxes. And Sophie Marceau, gets, again, it was a big fight about putting her in my top 3 because, oh my God, I mean, she just takes your breath away. The world is not enough. She's just so beautiful, and you desperately don't want her to be the villain. But again, a strongly written character, motivations, check, and she just flipping hell. Yeah, I'm getting a bit warm just thinking about it. Right, there we go.